Hello, my name is Brandon Wood, and thank you for watching the second pitch for my game Katadikase. In this first-person horror game, the player will be playing as a prisoner of King Minos, which is going to be thrown into the labyrinth with the Dirt Minotaur. Now there will be two antagonizing forces in this game, which will be the maze as the primary antagonizing force, and the Minotaur is going to be the secondary antagonizing force. The reason why I'm putting these in this order is the fact that the maze will always be consistently in the way from being able to prevent the player from the ultimate goal of escaping. The Minotaur is only temporary because if a player happens to find a sword and slays the Minotaur does not respawn, and so that leads back to the primary antagonizing force, which is the maze. So what exactly does the player do in this game? Ultimately, the player is just trying to survive against the Minotaur while solving the maze. At the exit point, there will be a beam shining down from the sky. That will be a good navigational point to allow the player to always know where the exit is. During traveling the maze and trying to solve it, the player may be able to find skeletons that will be on the ground that can have either of two items. Those two items are going to be a sword and a shield. The shield will be able to help deflect and prevent all damage from the Minotaur and be able to stun him at the same time while the Minotaur is doing his charge to kill the player. That will be able to stun the Minotaur and allow the player to run away and gain a little bit of distance between the two. There's also the sword, which will also break after one use. The player has to hit the Minotaur, and it stuns the Minotaur for a little bit, not as much as the shield, and it will allow the player to gain a little bit of distance. Now the player will be able to kill the Minotaur if the player is able to successfully hit the Minotaur with 3 swords. That will be able to kill the Minotaur and help the player to only have to focus on escaping from the maze. Now in Katadikase, I really want to reinforce the horror aspect, and where that comes into play is that the faster that the player moves, the faster the Minotaur moves, so the player will be able to sprint. There will be 2 stances where there will be walking and sprinting, and that's it. The closer the Minotaur gets, the faster the Minotaur will move, and exactly vice versa. The slower that the player moves, the slower the Minotaur will move, and the further the Minotaur is, the slower the Minotaur will go. Now both ends and sides will be capped, so the Minotaur can only go but so slow, and the Minotaur can only go but so fast. Now in most games that wouldn't really make too much sense, but since there will be walls in between, the Minotaur might be able to move faster even if on the other side is just on the other side of the wall, and as the Minotaur goes around will be slower, so it will be playing with the player's mind the entire time, which will force the player to try and make decisions on if he or she wants to move fast or go slow. Now there is one more major aspect that I want to throw in that the player will be able to make a decision on, is where he or she wishes to die. Because when the player dies, the player will actually become a new prisoner in the labyrinth, and the previous body will become a skeleton. Any items that the player had on will drop then and there on that skeleton, so the player can be able to pick them up and be able to fight up against the Minotaur. All health that the Minotaur has continues, and the Minotaur's position will continue, which will also leave another decision on where the player wants to go. If the player wants to go and get the items back, the Minotaur is more likely to be there, and so it may be a more dangerous game. However, going on the opposite side may not have the items, but will be a safer route. The game will closely resemble Slenderman in the horror aspect where you will always be chased. However, the major difference will be that you will be able to pick up items and fight back against the antagonizing force that is chasing you. The biggest risks in producing this game will actually be the animating art, being that we are game design students and not art students. Thank you for watching my presentation on Katadikase.